Let's talk about inputs. So sometimes you want to accept information from your users, right? So you can imagine like you're filling out some sort of shipping information, right? So if you're trying to like ship some shoes to yourself or something like that, they'll have something here of like put in your first name and you'll put Brian. That particular part where you accept user input is called, as you might imagine, user input. So these are browser inputs. It's inputs that the browser provides for you. They'll look sometimes slightly different, like Windows ones will look a little bit different than Mac because a lot of times they're provided by the operating system. But yeah, they're very useful because there are a bunch of these like pre-built kind of components that allow you to accept information from a user. And there's a bunch of different types. I always say the one that I 99% of the time end up using is probably this input type equals text, which if you just leave out the type equals text here, it's also the default one. So you notice that this is the same as this one, right? These two are the same, right? But I just wanted to show you that if you leave it off, it is by default a type equals text type. And then I threw a bunch of other ones on there just for you. So you can have like a color selector. So let's say we want to choose like a nice, I don't know, like a green, okay? So someone could do that, right? And now they've selected a green color. Like maybe you have them like choosing like the color of the t-shirt that they're creating. This is a file selector. So I can, upload a file or something like that. I can go select, this file here, and this will upload this file or something like that. You need a server to upload it to, but this will allow the user to choose which file that they want to select. This is a number, right? So I can only numbers will be allowed here, and then I can put numbers here, and it'll have the down arrow and up arrow. That's a number selector. This one is for users if they need to select a time and a date, right? So for this one, if I wanted to do, May 1st, 2022, this will allow them to do that, and then this will allow them to select a time as like 12:30 a.m. on May 1st. Radio buttons. So if you have like 5 options and you want a user to choose one of them, you'll use radio buttons. And then if you have 5 options and you want a user to select 0 to 5 of them, you'll use checkboxes, right? And that's what those are. So I think that's most of the types there are. There might be a couple more, but I don't know. I don't use like the color selector very often because typically I don't need users to select colors for me. But if I did, that's what that's for. Okay. Text areas. I think we're kind of familiar with these as well. So imagine going to like a comment form on a particular page, like Reddit or something like that, and you want to say like, this is my comment, but you want to add like multiple paragraphs or something like that. This allows users to put in like long form text as opposed to something like this. You can't hit enter on this, right? It wouldn't give you multiple lines. A text area is for longer form comments. And it also has this drag, and so you can make it bigger or smaller. That's another text area thing. Talked about selects. So similar to radio buttons here, if you have like 5 options and you want the user to choose one of them, you can also use a select. And between radio groups or radio buttons and selects, it's just a preference. Like I would say typically I see more selects because they're more compact, right? Like a drop down of like, I need to select the state that I live in. Typically you'll see those expressed as selects. Also these more common, but it's up to you if you want to use radio buttons or a select. But that's what this is, right? So I define a select, and then I define all the various different options inside of them. So if I want a user to just choose San Francisco or Seattle or Portland, that's what that does. And then a form is just a group of inputs and text areas and selects. So this one, for example, would be a form if I was expecting someone to put in their name, right? So Brian Holt. The little placeholder here is basically what do you want the user to see if it's empty, right? So it shows like grayed out last name, right? Again, this form isn't going anywhere. You'll have to use JavaScript and your server to kind of hook up a form, right? but this is actually just the part of the HTML that will accept all the information from the user.